Welcome, fam. Let's see. Are we good to go? Welcome, fam. Let us see if we are good to go. Mike, a check. Mike, a check. Are we good to go? Are we good to go? Um, Mike, check. We are live. We are rocking. So our sound is on. We've got another exciting show. Today is Sugar Toxic. Is sugar toxic? Most of you probably have heard debates about sugar. Some people are like, avoid sugar at all costs. And some people are like, nah, sugar is harmless. You can just eat whatever you want. Well, by the end of today's show, I want to make us or help us better understand what's missing in this conversation and understand exactly what we need to do to overcome these extremes when it comes to diet and nutrition. And hopefully, we'll also understand why people lose control around sugar and whether it's actually truly toxic or not. So, this is what we really need to understand. So, today we are also going to reflect a little bit on what scripture says about indulgence, sugar, specifically looking into Proverbs. So, I'm going to pull this up for you and we will look at this scripture right here. So as we've got Solomon, the Proverbs of Solomon, of King Solomon. So it says in Proverbs 25, verse 16, if you find honey, eat just enough, too much of it, and you will vomit. If you find honey, eat just enough, too much of it, you will vomit. This is straight from our scriptures. Because what you find is that a lot of times you consume more sugar than you realize. And sugar is hidden in drinks, sauces, snacks, cereals, and processed foods. So you eat constant sugar all the time in almost everything that we consume. There's sugar baked in. And there's a good reason why companies do this. So you eat sugar constantly without awareness or structure. Oh, my alarm is going off. Okay. Anyway, so that's off. So when you eat without awareness or structure, you tend to overindulge and you ultimately have no control. And another issue, another problem is that you blame your cravings on lack of willpower, but the environment is already designed to keep you consuming more. Because what they need to do is to make you keep coming back and buy more sugar. Because the dopamine, when you eat sugar, the dopamine releases in your brain. And you're also not struggling because of one dessert, but you struggle because excess has become the new normal. So right now, what we want to do is understand, where are these beliefs coming from? That sugar is either bad or it's harmless. Because the moment we understand this, this is the moment that we're able to really live the way that we're supposed to live without overindulging, and give us a bit more control over our health, over our nutrition. Because when you look at this issue with sugar, what happens is that you believe that removing sugar completely will automatically make you healthy. And you believe that sugar alone is a reason for weight gain and poor health. And you believe there is one food responsible for all your nutritional problems. So we want to change that. We want to change that conversation. And we want to look at this video from one of these health gurus, and he appeared on a show, Diary of a CEO, and he had something to say about sugar. So let's take a listen and hear what he said. I'm sure some of you have heard this or heard about this podcast. Oh, let's see. Okay, sound. Let's turn on the sound.
Is genetic garbage. That genetic component is only 5%. So that means 95% of Alzheimer's risk is environmental. Air pollution, microplastics, ultra-processed food. And a paper just came out showing that sweetener consumption correlates with dementia. And we think we know why.
And you've not talked about this publicly yet?
No, let's talk. 73% of the items in the American grocery store are poisoned because sugar is hidden in all the foods. For instance, there's 262 names for sugar, and the food industry uses all of them because they knew when they add it, you buy more.
I want to sort out the sound. Right.
Store are poisoned because sugar is hidden in all the foods. For instance, there's people say, oh, Alzheimer's is genetic. Garbage. That genetic component is only 5%. So that means 95% of Alzheimer's risk is environmental. Air pollution, microplastics, ultra-processed food. And a paper just came out showing that sweetener consumption correlates with dementia. And we think we know why.
And you've not talked about this publicly yet?
No, let's talk. 73% of the items in the American grocery store are poisoned because sugar is hidden in all the foods. For instance, there's 262 names for sugar, and the food industry uses all of them because they knew when they add it, you buy more. But the problem is, it's providing people with a dopamine hit, and that dopamine is addictive. And that's when you actually have a biochemical and medical problem. And we have data to show that ultra-processed food has been associated with dementia, diabetes, cancer, every single mental health disease. So the question is, how can you buy healthy food and not be tempted by the bad stuff? So first, if a food has a label, it's a warning label. The second thing, if any food has a sugar in the first 3 ingredients, it's dessert. And then when they go to the store, don't go hungry.
And what about exercise?
Well, it doesn't really impact your desire to reach for sugar. It has its own metabolic benefits. But if you think exercise is going to make you lose weight, you are deluded. And we can talk about that.
So with all of this in mind, if I've got a sugar problem or if I've got an addiction problem, what is the remedy?
So this is one of the things I did in my obesity clinic. So the only way you're going to be able to fix the problem is people say, oh.
Okay, so that is Diary of a CEO. Let me see if I can share this with you in case you want to go watch this later on. So this is a Diary of a CEO. So that's the show. This is the guy. So actually, maybe let's play it so that you can see the full video, because right now you couldn't see the full thing, but I think you got that.
This is one of the things I did in my obesity clinic. So the only way you're going to be able to fix the problem is people say, oh, Alzheimer's is genetic. Garbage. That genetic component is only 5%. So that means 95% of Alzheimer's risk is environmental. Air pollution, microplastics, ultra-processed food. And a paper just came out showing that sweetener consumption correlates with dementia. And we think we know why.
And you've not talked about this publicly yet?
No, let's talk. 73% of the items in the American grocery store are poisoned because sugar is hidden in all the foods. For instance, there's 262 names for sugar, and the food industry uses all of them because they knew when they add it, you buy more. But the problem is, it's providing people with a dopamine hit, and that dopamine is addictive. And that's when you actually have a biochemical and medical problem. And we have data to show that ultra-processed food has been associated with dementia, diabetes, cancer, every single mental health disease. So the question is, how can you buy healthy food and not be tempted by the bad stuff? So first, if a food has a label, it's a warning label. The second thing, if any food has a sugar in the first 3 ingredients, it's dessert. And then when they go to the store, don't go hungry.
And what about exercise?
Well, it doesn't really impact your desire to reach for sugar. It has its own metabolic benefits. But if you think exercise is going to make you lose weight, you are diluted. And we can talk about that.
So with all of this in mind, if I've got a sugar problem or if I've got an addiction problem, what is the remedy?
So this is one of the things I did in my obesity clinic. So the only way you're going to be able to fix the problem is people say, oh, Alzheimer's is genetic. Garbage.
So right there, fam, I think you heard it. So as we see here, as you can tell, it's a problem. It's a problem. So Alzheimer's, right? So that's a problem. So as we've already seen, okay, so I think we're good. Okay. So I just wanted to make sure that we're good. We are back. I gotta check. Okay. I think okay, so please bear with me because figuring out I don't want to re-record. It's better for me to double check to make sure that the sound is on as we go through this. So right there, from what he said, he's already talked about how food itself is embedded with so many different types of sugars, and it's been given different names because if you've taken biology or chemistry, you understand that sometimes you have a category of sugars and then they're broken down into like fructose, sucrose, and different types of sugars with the O's. Most of them have the O's, right? And you also have like corn syrup, different types of sugars, and starches also have different types of sugars. So that is what you find. And so the other thing is that you also tend to believe that your cravings mean that you're weak or you're addicted beyond control. And you believe that your lack of discipline is because you cannot stop eating sugary foods. And you believe that something is wrong with you. Because when you recognize that your habits, your environment, just like what he said. This is Doctor. Let me get his name. Let me actually get his name so that we talk about his name as well. So this was number one. Okay, they don't write his name, but
That
this guy, the doctor, right? Like this guy, he's already told us that they put all of these things in there because it's going to help release dopamine, all the sugars, because that sweet, that high, that sugar high, they call it, is going to make you want to eat more, right? Because the moment you start eating more, and then it means that you come back, you buy more all the time. So the moment you start understanding that, these food companies are doing this intentionally and it's not always your fault, it liberates you for starters. And what's also interesting is that sometimes we tend to now think that because these food companies are doing this, maybe because of your genetics and modern life, it's impossible to actually eat well, which leads you to believe that you have no control over your eating patterns. That's the opposite side of that same spectrum. So you have to now understand that there is a breakdown immediately at that point. Because if you believe that your circumstances are stronger than your ability to build structure, there's no hope. But question is, why there's so many people who are still in shape, who are active and in shape, they can still eat healthy? What is the difference? Because now when we start boiling it down, we start to figure out like where is the breakdown, right? Just by us asking these questions, first of all, recognizing the beliefs that we have in our minds. And then after we understand the beliefs that we have, we can now start breaking down to see, okay, but where does this belief lead me? What can I get from this belief if I keep holding on to it? So these are the things that we have to start asking ourselves because now because sugar is everywhere at the end of the day. So what you have to realize is that we are consuming sugar constantly throughout the day. And most processed foods contain added sugar. and you're overwhelming and overstimulating your appetite and reward system repeatedly by eating so much sugar because of that dopamine hit, and it floods your brain, and your brain is like, wow, let's go. But you also, if you've noticed, like sometimes different foods might give you a crash, especially sweet foods. And so what happens is, what we're also facing is that when we don't track our liquid calories, our snacks, or portion sizes, we underestimate how much sugar we're actually consuming. And you rely on feeling instead of measurement. Because now, if you only do that, you will lose track, and you will know when you're going off track and when you're eating too much. And that's why I've made some videos on how to use MyFitnessPal, how to track your food. This is why it's so important for us to be able to track our food and understand what we're actually consuming. Because at the end of the day, the processed foods are actually engineered to keep us eating. And because they're engineered to do that, the sugars, they also combine with the fats and the salts, which creates just that feeling that we want to eat more because your cues for fullness have been overridden. And that's now bad for you because you're now constantly eating more foods that are designed just for overconsumption. Because if you've noticed, like if you've eaten McDonald's before, the next thing when you've eaten a burger or some fries, because those fries, they're good, they taste good, they taste amazing, like I won't lie. And what happens, or even like Five Guys, and what happens with how they make that food is you feel like you want to have like something sweet, like you want to have like a milkshake, like you want to have like a McFlurry, you want to have more, you want to have a dessert, and boom, you've had the dessert. Because if you've researched as well, there's more research and studies that show that a lot of the menus are designed for different foods to go well. Like when you start with a starter, that's why they have like the 4 or 5 course meal, where they know like the science behind your brain chemistry and your stomach and how your taste buds can match different foods where you feel like you want to eat more. So they know exactly the different foods to put on the menu for starters to make you feel like your appetite is going, like you want to eat more and you want to order more. So those are intentional things. And I don't think that those menus are just like random foods put on there. Whether it's McDonald's and fast food spots, they make it even extreme because it's like just overstimulating and more dopamine, and it's just empty. It tastes good, it's soft, it just goes down. So those are the things that we have to think about, because when those foods are hyper palatable, they start controlling you. And you think that, oh, like, but I didn't eat that much. I only had one meal. Because I've found this being a common thing. The people that say, hey, I'm trying to lose weight, but I don't eat that much. This is what happens. But I don't eat that much. I only eat once a day. But that one meal a day could be like someone's like full day of eating. Just because you eat one meal a day doesn't always mean you're going to lose weight or you're not eating a lot. Because that one meal could be packed with so many calories, so many sugars. And so if you're not tracking, you don't have awareness, and you're eating these hyperpalatable foods, it's going to be very hard for you to lose weight. And you're going to end up demonizing sugar alone and say, oh, like I'm just going to eat uh, bland food that doesn't have any taste. So you start going on the other side. You start going on the extreme. And so the lack of structure causes chaos, because when you skip meals and binge later, it doesn't help you. You snack impulsively instead of actually eating with intention. And you rely on the cravings to actually guide your decisions when it comes to eating and different foods. That's why meal planning is also very important, because it helps you avoid all of these things. Because once you fall into that trap, it's also hard to come out of, because that reward from your brain with the dopamine, it just reinforces that habit of saying, okay, maybe I don't eat and then I reward myself. But when you're rewarding yourself with so much sugar, it disrupts your system and your hunger cues and your fullness cues. So everything is put out of whack when you don't have structure to it. And so one of the things that you need to start doing is realizing that you need to prioritize the whole foods, because it's not to say all sugars are bad, but you still can get your sugars from fruit, from some vegetables. Because when you also prioritize fruits, veggies, protein, and minimally processed foods, you reduce the reliance on ultra processed foods. Because again, the food labels, like you said, those are warning signs. So the best thing is to eat food without warning labels, without the nutritional facts. So, meaning if you go and shop from your farmer's market, a place where there's natural food, or like local farm, if you know any farms in your area, support the local farmers and shop from there, and avoid the ultra processed foods. Because once you start like going into big box stores like Superstore, Walmart, Walgreens, Target, whichever place that you go for your shopping for your groceries, if they have all the processed food in the world, it's going to be hard for you to maintain your health and control the amount of sugars that you are letting into your body. So you need to figure that out. And you also need to prioritize your protein and fiber, because now with the protein and fiber, they help improve your fullness and your blood sugar stability. So those are the things that you need to make sure that you prioritize in your diet. And just tracking everything, right, to build awareness. And by building awareness, you're able to understand, okay, this is how much sugar I'm eating in a day. Because if you track your food, you know the calories that you're supposed to eat, you know the carbs that you're supposed to eat, you know the sugar level of sugar, the grams of sugar that you need to eat per day. It's going to be easy for you to actually understand, like, okay, am I eating enough for the day, or I can eat maybe a snack if you still have in your caloric goals. And you don't have to overindulge, because now you have awareness. You know exactly what you're doing. And one of the things is that you need to understand is that context matters when it comes to sugar. Context matters, because sugar is in fruit, and it's not the same as the sugar in constant processed foods that you eat. So that intake is completely different. So the dose, the frequency, and the food quality matter a lot, because sugar is really just a blanket term for sugars, right? But you have different sugars. The sugars found in fruits are much, much healthier because they're natural. They're derived from nature, just the way God intended. So we can have that. We can satisfy ourselves instead of eating processed sugars. Sugars derived and made in labs to enhance the sweetness of food. So that's why you have those artificial sweeteners, all of those things, not the things that you should be eating. So the other thing is you stop swinging, or what you need to do is to stop swinging between restriction and binging, but you actually need to build structure and avoid the extremes, because the extremes also lead you to either the good side or the bad side. I mean, they lead you to a bad side at the end of the day, because you need to have something that's balanced, that's leaving you in a place where you've got sanity, because we shouldn't really be overthinking about food or sugar to say, oh, should I eat this or should I eat that? Because on its own, it's not bad. But we have to exercise control and discipline. So if you're fasting, that's a different case, because you're intentionally fasting and you know the foods that you're supposed to nourish your body with after your fast, when you're breaking that fast. So it's important, again, if you're fasting, you're someone who's fasting, to still eat a lot of fiber and to eat protein so that you stabilize your blood sugar. And then you can have your carbs from whole foods. That's what you put in your diet and that's what you eat. So These are the things that we need to start really having a conversation around, not trying to swing from one extreme to another extreme, saying I'm cutting out this one thing because that is the enemy. That is not the way to do it. So, this is really for you, like if you've been watching, if you, or whenever you join, but this video is really for you if you feel that you're controlled by your cravings, or you want to have clarity instead of these nutrition fear-mongering influences just scream everywhere online, because you have to have the right mindset when it comes to nutrition and not panic anytime you hear someone coming up with something new saying, oh no, don't do this, don't do that, right? You have to take a moment to just be calm, understand, okay, where do I put this? Where's the context for this claim that's being made? And if you're ready to build discipline and awareness around food, you need to pay attention to this. You need to pay attention. But if you're someone who's like, no, I just want a quick villain to blame, I want to blame food, I don't want to take responsibility for being fat, and you say that I'm comfortable with it, or you're looking for some extreme diet because you want to punish yourself, this is not for you. This is completely not for you. And if you refuse to take ownership of your eating habits, like all of this is not for you, what we're talking about, because you're someone who doesn't care. You're someone who doesn't care about your health. But if you're done with being fat, you're like, no, I'm done. I'm tired of being fat. And you really want to have structure and discipline to your life. And you're like, I'm ready to go. And I want to build something that lasts and lose the weight for good and have healthy habits. Because again, it's not enough to just know this information, but you need to have practical application. Because now you have to start checking food labels. And one of the things that I wanted to show you is this food label. These are the food labels. This is the warning label that he said. So these are warning labels. I think they're warning labels, but at the same time, they hold a lot of value in terms of our understanding of about food, because we need to understand what we're eating and what we're not eating, right? So right here you have the nutrition facts label. I'm sure a lot of you have seen that. So these are the servings, right? The serving sizes for this food, particular food. And you have your calories, and then you have your daily percentage volume. So these are averages, these are general. So if you're at 5%, it's low. If it's 20% or more, it's high. So you need to understand what this means. And then you also have your nutrients. So with the carbohydrates, like I said, your sugars fall under carbohydrates. So different types of carbohydrates will have different sugars. So it's good to understand when you go shopping to read these labels and also read the ingredients and see how many sugar ingredients are part of whatever you're about to buy, because it's important for us to have awareness, to create awareness. Because if you are ready, you need to reduce the sugary drinks and liquid calories. That's the first thing that you need to do, because those are what we call empty calories. And you need to build meals around your protein and fiber and whole foods. These are the practical applications that you need to start doing. And you need to eat structured meals instead of just grazing all day. Like you need to have time. So that's why, some people say like, oh, if you have like you're not supposed to have breakfast. Humans are not supposed to have breakfast. It's a made up thing. Or you're not supposed to have lunch or dinner. Like those are not necessarily made up things, but culturally, across different cultures before like food companies, people would have meals in the morning before they start work, or they'll make tea or whatever they'll do just for them to start their day. And then they would have maybe lunch and dinner. And different cultures have different foods that they eat. That's why you have different staple foods in different countries. So these are all cultural norms where people come together and they eat as a community. This has happened since the beginning of time. So that's what we need to have, because now as a group, okay, this is the time that we're eating as a group. But then if you're someone who's just like eating and just grazing all day, that's just you doing it on your own. And you are lacking structure and discipline. So you need to start implementing some sort of structure to know, okay, this is the time that I eat. If you have family, if you have friends that you can eat with every day, that's what you need to start thinking about. To say, okay, I need to go and eat today with my friends at this time, or I need to go eat with my family at this time. And that way, you know that you're eating with a lot of people, you're sharing food, and everyone is understanding, okay, how much food they're eating. And then you can have your dessert after, and maybe you're eating shareables at the restaurant, wherever you go. You can do all of those things so that you're not over consuming. It really is a benefit when you eat with other people. And you need to start tracking your intake to actually bring some awareness to your food, to understand, okay, from the food that I'm eating, how many calories am I eating? Because some of these tracking apps, like I showed you my Fitness Pal, you can actually scan and it can read all of those nutritional labels for you and just put it in your phone, like with my Fitness Pal, and you can log everything all at once. And you can create consistent plan that you can follow every single day instead of just relying on cravings so that you know exactly what you're doing. Because the last thing you want to do is just depend on your emotions, depend on how you feel that day, and say, oh, no, now I'm going to eat XYZ today. So these are the things you need to start paying attention to. Don't just go off and just say, hey, like I'm just living my life. I'm just going to eat whatever comes to mind. You don't want to go out and just start eating whatever you want to eat. You want to pay attention to everything. You want to pay attention. So these are the things you need to start thinking about because sugar on its own is not the only problem. The real problem is having excess, lack of awareness, and loss of control. And it's time for you to take control. Anything that you consume without discipline just becomes distractive. So these are the things that we need to understand. These are the things that we need to take seriously to say, okay, do I have structure? Am I applying some structure to this? Right? Again, what Solomon said, if you find honey, eat just enough. Too much of it, you will vomit. And this is still honey, natural. Because if you think about it, the amount of sugar that you'd eat from or you'd have from like an ice cream, it's so much, or like a Coke, just a Diet Coke. It's so much sugar that it would be hard to eat from a fruit that has the most sugar. Like even if you're eating dates, there's a point when you eat sugar from like dates and you're just like, okay, this is too much. Like you'll be full. Your stomach will probably get fuller before you actually eat that amount of sugar that you can drink from just a Coke. So the sodas need to go. Maybe once a week as like a cheat meal or not really once a day, but measuring and tracking that. But for the most part of your day, you want to eat your whole foods first. And the other problem is that anything you consume, you want to make sure that you're also bringing awareness again. Like you must decide whether food will fuel your life or it will control your life. So these are the things that you need to start thinking about to really overcome the desire to maybe just eat different foods because your emotions are telling you, oh, let's have, let's order some ice cream, let's order some takeout. So these are things that we need to take seriously. Take seriously for your health. And again, this is not medical advice. If you have diabetes, if you have some specific condition, you still need to go see a medical doctor. I'm not a medical doctor. So you need to go see a medical doctor, get a prescription if you have diabetes. But the last thing that you want to do is depend on some of these GLP-1 medications, which are just fresh on the market and new on the market. And you can also make sure that you're having a better relationship with your food, because when you start taking these injections, a lot of people are overdosing because they think that they can compensate by taking this medication. So they end up doing more because they've had that dessert when they went out and they've eaten so much more. So they think that the medication is going to help them, where it's not the solution. You need to start understanding what sugar does. Is it bad? Is it good or bad? No, it's not bad on its own. It's good for you. It gives you energy when you're working out. It's the quickest way for your body to get energy. It breaks down the sugar. Your body immediately, boom, breaks it down. And you need to eat enough sugar. If you're a if you're an athlete or sports enthusiast who's playing sports all the time, you might even need more sugar than the average person. Like if you run marathons or if you swim miles or laps, so many laps in a day, or for practice, you probably need more sugar because you need more glycogen in your muscles for you to burn off to give you that boost. So these are things that you need to think about. And the moment you have that, but for the average person, you just need to realize that you are supposed to have a better relationship with sugar. And by having a better relationship with sugar is just realizing that the sources of sugar matter the most. So avoid liquid calories, sugary drinks. Those need to be cut out. Those need to be cut out. You need to have a plan. And if you're someone who's like, okay, Nate, I don't know where to start. Where should I go? What foods should I eat? What are whole foods? And what can I eat? Like that has been sorted out for you. I've made a video on creating meal plans. You can check it out in the playlist, Nutrition Tuesday, or how to use my Fitness Pal, how to track everything. And if you also would like to support us, you can go to the site. There's the Nutrition Mastery Bundle on the website. So this also helps to support the channel. And you can get this for $27. So you have the complete eating system for fat loss, a lean muscle, and stronger rhythms. So building on simple, real food that fuels performance. So you'll have 69 recipes. So you have smoothies, snacks, breakfast, lunch, dinner, high protein meals, healthy carb bowls. You have that. You have the protein plate, which has 9 protein meals, high protein meals, and you have quick carb recipes. So you have 10 healthy carb recipes. And then you also have the nutrition guide, which helps you figure out like, okay, what are my calories? What the portion sizes, the meal timing, performance and eating, how to make sure that you're eating enough for whatever you're doing. And you also have the faith-based nutrition guide, the 7-day Bible plan. So you can have that if you want to try that out. So you're looking at my Fitness Pal and how to set up my Fitness Pal. This is all included. And you also have bonuses, so checklists if you're trying to work out and start going to the gym, and different resources that you can lean on for your health. Not just limited to diet, but also like exercise, fitness, more material, books that you can read. These are all included in this system. So you can check it out on the site. So this is what it looks like. So you can all check it out over here. So I created these. These are probably like some of my first programs that I created. So you can go check them out. These are all included for $27. So I have these resources for you so that you can use. So the most important thing, again, for us is to understand that sugar on its own is not bad. But we need to understand that we, first of all, need to take control by bringing awareness to what we're actually eating on a daily basis. And when we bring awareness, we also need to bring structure so that we know how much we're eating, how much sugar we're eating in a day. Because when you do that, you're able to understand, okay, do I have margin? Maybe I can have my dessert. It's not going to matter too much, because we're not saying be restrictive, but we're saying bring structure. to how you eat. Bring structure to your diet so that you're in control and you do not demonize one sugar and you do not go from one extreme to another extreme. But it's to understand the function of each thing. Because your sugar, again, I told you, your body, your muscles, they need sugar. They run on sugar because they need glycogen. Glycogen, which comes from glucose. So now you need to understand that you need to have a healthy relationship. But that glucose and glycogen, where it comes from, it's best when it comes from whole foods and from fruits. So these are the things that you need to start paying attention. If you're someone who's serious, who's like, okay, I'm ready to take control and not have my diet, my life be controlled by food. If you're emotional about your eating, you need to start understanding that it's one, for starters, you're fighting a battle where these companies, these food companies, also creating ultra processed foods so that you release the most dopamine and you come back and buy more food. So, whatever issue that you're facing and you're struggling with, it needs to be addressed head on, not by sitting down and taking that tub of ice cream or getting that candy or bag of chips and just sitting on the couch. You need to start writing down, journaling. That's why I talk about journaling. You need to figure out, like, okay, why does this thing keep coming back? Why do I keep going back to grab that bag of chips? Why do I keep going to get that ice cream? What is the reason? Figure out, like, okay, what is triggering that emotion that leads you to that action? That's what you need to figure out and write it down. Make sense of it first. Because the sugar and the food is not going to help. It helps in the moment to make you feel good when the dopamine is released. But for how long can you go being dependent on dopamine hits? Because your control is gone. You're letting it go because you're now reinforcing those desires, those cravings to just take control because you listen to them. The moment you listen to them, you go and eat that sugar, you're going to feel like, oh, that is so good. That is so good. I want more. Oh, I want to eat more. Personally, I've got a sweet tooth, but I've also provided and given myself structure to my food when I eat something sweet. When I don't eat something sweet, when I eat something sweet, I know, okay, maybe it's a cheat meal. I know, okay, I'm going to have my cheat meal. I'm making room, I'm making margin so that I can have that sweet food or like whether it's like chocolate or ice cream. I make room for it. But then all the times I know, like, okay, no, I'm not eating it right now. I'm not eating, but I'm also combining exercise with everything because my muscles now burn it off. But when I don't work out as much and I'm not burning off as many calories, I probably won't eat that because I know that I have to have a session, a workout that I go and burn it off and exhaust my glycogen cells, my cells of the glycogen, right? And replenish with whole foods because sometimes you do need that extra boost. Sometimes you do, but it's having that relationship with food and getting in tune with your body to understand when your body needs it. Not depending on the emotions when I say getting in tune with your body, but it's knowing that this also requires the work to burn off the calories, to replenish, to understand what the sugar does in your body. Because if you don't use those extra calories, that sugar gets converted into fat. I mean, not directly, but it does get stored as additional fat because your body's not using it. If you just eat all the sugars, because most of the sugars, if it's like from processed foods, is fats, is salts. So it slows down your metabolism. It all slows down your metabolism. And then your body's not burning as much fat as it's supposed to, because you have to be intentional about it. You have to be intentional. So go to the site, go check out what programs you can grab, and it's also linked in the store on the channel, so you can go check it out. So again, the site is natemlambo.com // store. You can check out the nutrition mastery bundle, so you can go check it out there, or you can check it out on the channel as well. So I hope this has been very helpful for you. And if you have any questions about diet, about food, or if you're considering taking Ozempic or taking any GLP-1 medications, send me a message so that we can discuss where you are and what is going on with your health and what we need to do. Because I strongly discourage anyone that's looking to take GLP-1s if they're not prescribed by your doctor, and if you're not using it to treat diabetes as well. So those are things that are very important. These are important conversations for us to have, not just surface level nutrition conversations, but it's about your actual health, diabetes, hypertension, cancer, Alzheimer's. What are we doing to address our health? Because again, as we have this discussion, like, I'm not going to keep on saying the same things, but most of these issues that we're facing today in this world, in this modern world, is because we've overprocessed things. We've tried to change what was intended in the beginning by God when He created the earth, when He said, okay, I'm giving you an abundance. I'm giving you the plants and the seed bearing trees, the animals, anything that moves on the earth to be food. Those are the things that we are now taking for granted, and we've moved around animals in different places. Now we have conservation parks, and we've tried to build and displace some of the animals, and we've constructed so much over the land, permanent structures that don't give back to the land, because there was intention in how God designed the world and how we also lived in the past. It's not saying that we can go back to the past, but there was intention, there was design, intelligent design. Because I even hear people that talk about how, you have mud huts, for example, in different places, or like uh, material that was made from the environment that were ecologically good for the environment, because those materials would be going back into the environment if they collapsed or if anything happened. They'll just go back in the environment. It wouldn't just be garbage or dirt. But we've also tried to achieve so much by destroying the environment itself, where we seem to be moving closer and closer to creating artificial environments. And because these are the signs, when people now look back, they'll start seeing, oh, now we've got AI, now we've got robots. It's because we've created room, we've created a path for these developments to happen, because we've started making everything artificial and started replacing everything that God intended and what God laid out for us. These are the real conversations that we need to start having. And we need to start thinking about going back to those moments. That's why I also say, like, we need a reset to really go back to where God wants us to be. It's not just always about advancing, 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 because by advancing, you're leaving the blueprint that was laid out in the beginning. These are the conversations and topics that are important for us to start having now. We need to start having these conversations, because without these conversations, we're just going to be lost. We're just going to be lost into the world. So take a moment to think about this as you go today, and tomorrow we'll come back. I'm going to work on creating all the streams for this week so that we have it all planned out, and we'll see like what shows we'll do this week. For tomorrow is going to be Recovery Wednesday, and the next day is going to be Thursday. We are looking at workouts. Friday is Faith Friday, so workouts on Thursday, Faith Fridays. So these are all important conversations for us to start having and make sure that we are leading our lives in the right direction. And we make sure that we cover all our bases and start moving back again to what God intended for us. So I will catch you guys tomorrow, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.